There are many people in our world today who wonder if there is such a thing as a God. They grasp that there might be or has to be a higher power, but they have doubts. It is easy for us who know the truth about Jesus to get frustrated with those who miss or deny obvious truth. However, today's passage is a warning that humans are susceptible to missing the obvious. Therefore, we should be on guard against doing the same. After healing and teaching in Jericho, Jesus began the steep climb up to Jerusalem. When Jesus and his disciples approached Bethphage and Bethany, which were near Jerusalem, he sent 2 disciples to fetch a donkey. And let's resume reading Luke 19 at verse 35. And they brought it to Jesus, and after they threw their garments on the colt, they put Jesus on it. And as he was going, they were spreading their garments on the road. Now as soon as he was approaching near the descent of the Mount of Olives, the whole multitude of the disciples began to praise God, rejoicing with a loud voice for all the miracles which they had seen. Notice several details in this verse. The whole multitude praised God. The multitude was made up of disciples. They rejoiced with a loud voice. The last phrase tells us why they rejoiced. It was because of the miracles they had seen. Verse 38, saying, "Blessed is the King who comes in the name of the Lord, peace in heaven and glory in the highest." Notice that the people identified Jesus as a king, coming in the name of the Lord. Verse 39, and some of the Pharisees in the crowd said to him, "Teacher, rebuke your disciples." The Pharisees would have objected to the idea that Jesus was king. Verse 40, but Jesus answered and said, "I tell you, if these were silent, the stones will cry out." As he approached Jerusalem and saw the city, he cried over it, saying, "If you knew in this day, even you, the things which make for peace, but now they have been hidden from your eyes." Verse 41 contains the word cried. Jesus entered Jerusalem triumphantly and had every reason to be joyful, but he cried because he knew the fate of Jerusalem. Verse 43, for the days will come upon you when your enemies will throw up a barricade against you and surround you and hem you in on every side. And they will level you to the ground and your children within you, and they will not leave in you one stone upon another, because you did not recognize the time of your visitation. That event happened in 70 AD. The Roman legion destroyed Jerusalem, including the temple. The last phrase tells us why Jerusalem was destroyed. It was because the Jews did not recognize that their Messiah had come. The Old Testament contains many indicators the Jews could have used to recognize their Messiah, but they missed him. Despite all the miracles Jesus performed, many did not grasp that the Creator of the universe had come to earth to prove his existence and die for the sins of mankind. There are many people today in our world who wonder if there is such a thing as a God. They grasp that there might be, or has to be, a higher power, something bigger than our world. However, they do not know who that is. The Creator of the universe came to earth as a man named Jesus. He performed miracles to prove he is God. Unfortunately, many people missed, and continue to miss, the truth about Jesus. They fail to recognize that Jesus is the God they are seeking. Just as the Jews suffered consequences for failing to recognize their Messiah, so too every human who misses the reality that Jesus is God himself will suffer consequences. It is easy for us who know the truth about Jesus to get frustrated with those who miss or deny the obvious truth that Jesus is God. This passage is a warning that people are susceptible to missing or denying the obvious. While we see the truth about Jesus, we need to be on our guard against failing to recognize other obvious truths. Verse 45. And Jesus entered the temple and began to drive out those who were selling, saying to them, "It is written, and my house shall be a house of prayer, but you have made it a robber's den." Jesus warned his disciples several times that he would be crucified. We read that in Luke 9 and Luke 18. Jesus did not try to avoid his fate. In fact, when he cleared the sellers out of the temple, he was provoking the Jewish leaders. I am certain the sellers had permission from the temple leaders to be in the temple. So when Jesus accused them of turning God's house of prayer into a robber's den, he was actually accusing the Jewish leaders of being thieves. Verse 47. And he was teaching daily in the temple, but the chief priests and the scribes and the leading men among the people were trying to destroy him. And they could not find anything that they might do, for all the people hung upon every word he said. Verse 47 has the word destroy. The priests and scribes were not mildly opposed to Jesus, they were strongly against him. Verse 48 has the word hung. The crowd adored Jesus and listened to him intently. Therefore, the Jewish leaders were constrained in their actions. Chapter 20, verse 1. And it happened that on one of the days while he was teaching the people in the temple and proclaiming the gospel, the chief priests and the scribes with the elders came up to him. And they spoke, saying to him, "Tell us by what authority you are doing these things, or who is the one who gave you this authority?" The Jewish leaders were in charge of the temple. Verse 1 tells us Jesus was teaching in the temple. Therefore, the Jewish leaders had the authority to question who gave Jesus authority to do what he was doing. Verse 3. And Jesus answered and said to them, "I will also ask you a question, and you tell me. Was the baptism of John from heaven or from men?" And they reasoned among themselves, saying, "If we say from heaven, he will say, 'Why did you not believe him?' But if we say from men, all the people will stone us to death, for they are convinced that John was a prophet." The Jewish leaders feared being stoned. This indicates the size of the fervor amongst the people, as well as the strong constraint the leaders operated against as they sought to destroy Jesus. Verse 7. So they answered that they did not know where it came from. And Jesus said to them, "Neither will I tell you by what authority I do these things." Jesus had authority to do what he was doing because he was God himself. However, he knew the Jewish leaders would not accept that, so he came up with a creative way to avoid answering their question. Verse 9. And he began to tell the people this parable. A man planted a vineyard and rented it out to vine growers and went on a journey for a long time. And at the harvest time he sent a slave to the vine growers so that they would give him some of the fruit of the vineyard. But the vine growers sent him away empty-handed, having beaten him. And he proceeded to send another slave, and when they beat him also and treated him shamefully, they sent him away empty-handed. And he proceeded to send a third, and this one also they wounded and cast out. This parable represents the overall history of Israel. Yahweh founded the nation of Israel and gave them the promised land. However, the Israelites rebelled over and over again and killed many of the prophets Yahweh sent to them. We will finish this parable tomorrow. The Old Testament contains many indicators the Jews could have used to recognize their Messiah, but they missed him. There are many people in our world today who wonder if there is such a thing as a God. The creator of the universe came to earth as a man named Jesus and performed miracles to prove he is God. Unfortunately, many people missed and continue to miss the truth about Jesus. It is easy for us who know the truth about Jesus to get frustrated with those who miss or deny the obvious truth. However, Luke 19 is a warning that people are susceptible to missing or denying the obvious. Therefore, while we see the truth about Jesus, we need to be on our guard against failing to recognize other obvious truths. Thanks for visiting Bible Mountain. If you have already joined my email list, thank you, and please tell others about Bible Mountain. If you have not joined my email list yet, please do so now. In order to join, go to BibleMountain.com, click on subscribe, and that will take you to a page where you can sign up. Your email address will not be sold nor given away. Once again, thanks for visiting Bible Mountain.